Okay, this is mug set 3. First, we start a sentence with on. We're going to need a comma somewhere, and that means at the end of the introductory phrase. We also need one between the day and the year for the date. 60 Minutes TV shows are underlined. If you're typing, of course, they're in italics in MLA format. I was watching 60 Minutes. I'll type Martin Luther King Jr. Juniors have comments before and after. And giving his famous speech, I Have a Dream. This one's kind of fuzzy. I would say it's the title of the speech, so I would capitalize like a title, which is first, last, and all important words. And I believe speeches are in quotations. And this is important. The quotation mark comes after the period. Next one. When you start a sentence with because, you're going to have a comma somewhere. Because they bought it with shared money, comma. That is the end of the introductory phrase. Of course, we spell bought, B-O-U-G-H-T. Manuel and Morgan's tape / CD player belongs to both of them. And now we're combining two independent clauses. That was one sentence. I can't understand why Morgan always says that's mine is another sentence. We need a comma before the and when you're joining two sentences. And Morgan always says comma quotations because we're starting a quote and the quotation ends after the exclamation mark. Next one of the greatest baseball players. Of course, we want the ONE one. Of the 1880s and 1890s was left-handed Billy Sunday. This is the single thought adjective. And then a native of Ames, Iowa is an interrupter describing Billy Sunday. And I believe this whole thing, the real sentence is one of the greatest baseball players of the 1880s and 1890s was left-handed Billy Sunday. Then a native of Ames, Iowa, who was discovered by the famous blah, blah. That's an entire interrupter. So I don't need the second comma because it would be at the end here where the period is. Ames, Iowa, of course, period between the city and state, comma between the city and state and comma after the state. And discovered is spelled with an I, discovered. And I believe that's all for that one. Next one, alcohol, Billy Sunday used to preach. All right, so we're actually doing a quotation here. So alcohol should be in quotations, and it's comma, then quotations. And it's used to preach, comma, quotations. When we start the sentence again, this is when you have narration in between. Is an appalling source of misery and crime in the land, period. Or actually, they want you to use a semicolon here. It's a little complicated. Semicolon is the one time you'd put punctuation after the quotations. You could also put a period after land, then end the quotation, and then capitalize his, which is probably the way you would end up doing it if you were doing the writing. His efforts helped bring about legal, and it's legal, prohibition in the 20s. And when we do this with dates, we are going to use apostrophes. This next one, 16th century English poet Thomas Deloney, century is spelled with a U. This comes up a lot on mug quizzes. Didn't think much of Cook's end of that sentence, and they want you to use a semicolon. Now we're starting a new thought. In fact, he once wrote the following. We know whenever we have the following, we're going to have the colon, and then since he wrote it, it's a quotation. God sends meat and the devil sends cook, period, and quotations. And the last one, comma for independent clauses. God sends meat is a sentence, the devil sends cook is a sentence. So we're going to put a comma there. Did I get them all? Okay, thanks.